young tigers out here, so essentially what we're trying to do is use our food rewards and use that little bit of training that we've managed to get in to try and encourage them to show off those behaviours. Now, it goes through and introduce you to everyone that you see out here. But one thing to remember, particularly during the presentation, is if you do see something you enjoy or you think's a little bit spectacular, feel free to show your appreciation with lots of clapping, screaming and cheering, and hopefully that will help our tigers along a little bit, might even help the handlers along a little bit as well. But starting from my far left-hand side, we've got Scott, and Scott's working with Carly, and Carly and Scott have certainly worked together a lot during these presentations, so I expect to see some great stuff from them. Up the very far end, we've got Pat working with Carly's sister, Kiko. Now, Kiko's still in the very early stages of some of the behaviours, but there's one behaviour in particular that she absolutely loves. And our two orange tigers, what I forgot to mention then, Kiko and Carly are two white tigers. They were born overseas. They were actually born in Japan, so they've come to us from over there. Our two orange tigers though, Akasha and Adira, were born right here at Dreamworld. With Keith in front of me, we have Akasha, and over there with Mel, we have Adira. And both of these two girls do tend to have particular behaviours they like a little bit more than others. But there we have it, guys. How about we give all the tigers and the handlers a big round of applause to start off with. Hopefully we'll get some good activity. Now, we always start off our behavioural presentations with milk as a reward because essentially the tigers like the meat the most. So if we start with the meat, well, we never get anything for the milk. So the first behaviour is nice easy one we like to call the sit-up behaviour. And you're going to see mostly our two orange girls, Adira and Akasha. Let's give them a big round of applause. They're sitting in position nicely. Take a look at Carly over here. She thinks she's nailing it. Yeah, we haven't quite got the bridge right for this one, so we've actually trained Carly to do the wrong behaviour, but we thought it looks pretty cool, so we'll leave it there. But anyway, this sit-up behaviour is one that a tiger would use when accessing out of reach scent marking. Scent marking is really important for a tiger. In the wild, they're solitary animals, so they rarely see one another. But when they do see each other, it's often very confrontational. So the best way to avoid confrontation is obviously to investigate scent, and the fresher the scent, obviously the closer the tiger may be. So if there's a big male around that could be a problem, they probably want to turn and go in the other direction. So that's why they would sit in a position like this, smelling those out of reach scent markings. Now this next behaviour is a little bit more of a height advantage. You saw the tigers just sitting up on their bottoms. Here we're going to have them standing up nice and tall, our two orange girls against the handlers, and our two white tigers standing up against our trees, and giving you a bit of an idea as to how they would go about this naturally. You can see Kiko over there, Carly shortly as well. Naturally they would drag their claws down the trees. Akasha's doing a very good job here. Adira's getting a little bit distracted, but that does happen from time to time, so Mel will just continue to try and get her focus. But typically, as they drag their claws down the trees, it's keeping their claws in good condition, stretching out the tendons and ligaments in their paws as well, so it feels good. But the outer sheath of the claw, it peels off from time to time. So this whole process of keeping their claws in good condition is helped along by them dragging them down the soft bark of the tree. So that whole process ensures that their claws stay in good nick. And obviously, when they're getting into blues with one another and fighting with each other, it is pretty important that those claws are in good condition. Because one behaviour that we would like to show you very shortly, as soon as we're ready over there with Adira, our next one is a fighting stance. But these young tigers are very good at play fighting and having a bit of fun with fighting. We're not seeing too much in the way of serious aggression between them, thankfully. Yeah, good work over there, Mel. So now that Mel's got Adira into that behaviour, she may actually be able to bring Adira up close and show the fight stance. If she does the fight stance, it will be relatively quick. She, out of all of our tigers, is the only one who's got kind of the hang of this behaviour for milk. As I said, they already are fighting with one another, but not too seriously. So in a fight, two tigers will stand up on their back legs. They'll use those big freed up front feet to try and knock their opponent off balance. So the tiger that can stand up the tallest, we'll just give her a small round of applause for that. Now we'll keep trying with that one. We have a bit of weird luck with this particular behaviour. Adira gets very easily distracted, particularly by our other tigers over in the up close. As I've already mentioned, we don't like our tigers to fight too much, particularly aggressively. Play fighting is very normal, we encourage that, but aggressive fighting is something that we want to discourage. We don't want them hurting each other. I've already mentioned the tiger's claws. They've got all of their claws. They've also got all of their teeth. This one in my hand is a plastic replica of a canine tooth of a tiger. As soon as the guys are ready, they're going to bring the tigers up nice and close, give you guys a bit of a look at our tiger's teeth. This is again one of those husbandry duties that we do with the cats. We encourage them to let us have a look at their teeth. Make sure they're in good condition. Make sure the gums are in good condition. The best way that we keep their gums in good condition is actually by giving them raw bones to chew on. We give them raw bones to chew on twice a week, and that's a fasting night for them. So the same as a tiger in the wild would fast a couple of times a week, we do the same practice here as well. What you probably notice is behind that canine tooth there's quite a gap. That's a naturally formed gap. It enables a tiger to bite to the gum line, so if you have been caught by a tiger, there's really not going to be too much chance of escape. And the back teeth are very different to ours. Back teeth are for cutting. Their back teeth are not for chewing or grinding. They're actually for cutting. So when they actually eat their food, they're swallowing kind of fairly large chunks whole in most cases. Alrighty guys, on that note, let's finish off those milk behaviours with another small round of applause. Not a bad start. As I said though, it can get a little bit chaotic out here, but that's part of the fun as well. Part of the fun also is moving on with Kiko here. This is her favourite behaviour. This is one behaviour she absolutely nails every time. So keep your eyes on her. She's going to do this jump across the platforms. She always puts in far too much effort, more effort than is needed. And that's because she's incredibly enthusiastic. She actually only realised she could do this jump not so long ago. So lots of work being done by those back legs, tons of work being done by that big muscular tail as well. So as you can see here, over jumping, just watching Pat, making sure she's getting those rewards. There we go, she's up there on the big screen as well. So this is, as I said, her favourite behaviour. She generally likes to outrun us for this last part of it. So not too much pressure on you here, Pat. No, not going to do it at all, is you? Oh yeah, all right. We will try and get her down onto the ground. We'll do one last jump with Kiko. With a bit of luck, we might even see her jumping off the ground behind me. She's got you, Pat. There we go. Excellent work, Kiko. Good job, Pat. Okay, now it's Akasha's turn. Akasha will put in slightly less effort. She knows that this distance jump is very, very easy. So she only has to put in the amount of effort that's needed. Something that we see from our adult tigers, particularly with a behaviour like this, is they will only use just the required amount of energy. Very rarely go overboard. And that's because they're strict carnivores, so they actually don't have a lot of energy in reserve. It boils down to that all-meat diet. They're very good at explosive power, but not so good at endurance. Maybe a little jump off the ground for Akasha? No. Back to the drawing board. Alright, keep your eyes focused on Adira over here with Mel, folks. We're going to see if she's interested in doing a tree climb for us. And this can be a little bit tricky at times because she's always very, very focused on that meat reward. And naturally, going for the drumstick, she will sometimes get a bit interested as we put it onto the stick. Now in the wild, tigers actually do not climb very often. They're far better suited to life on the ground. They are large animals, so getting up a tree takes a lot of effort. So have a look over here, guys. You're going to see Adira probably climbing right to the very top of our climb pole. There we go. Tons of strength. Got all that claw strength, all the upper body strength. This is obviously a great way for us to show that our tigers have got all of their claws. Otherwise, obviously, they wouldn't be able to get up the tree. But the only reason we can take certain tigers as high as we do is because of their ability to climb back down the tree. If she was to turn and jump as a general practice, we wouldn't take her anywhere near that high. But as you can see, awesome dismount technique. Come on, guys, let's give her another big round of applause. Excellent job from Adira. And if you're ever being chased by a tiger, do not climb a tree. Alright folks, now a little bit more formalised training from these young tigers. Again, you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. You'll see the guys have got in their hands these mark boards. The mark boards are just indicators of position. We'll throw them onto the ground. We want the tigers to go and stand on them, and when they do, they'll be rewarded for it. So this way we can introduce our vet and we can do routine veterinary procedures without any problems. Whilst they're standing here, we've got that little bit of an element of control over where they are and what they're doing and what they're focused on. So if we need to take a blood sample or give them their yearly vaccination or take their temperature, we've even been able to do ultrasounds and x-rays. We can do it using this method of training. Now these tigers are not quite at that point yet, but some of our adult tigers are very, very capable of those sorts of simple procedures. Very stress-free for us, very stress-free for the cats. We've also used this method of training many times in the film and media work that we get involved in. Over the years, some of our tigers have been in TV commercials, feature films, documentaries, all sorts of stuff. And that sort of thing allows us to raise a lot of money for wild tiger conservation. And that's one of our main reasons, folks, for bringing you guys down here a couple of times a day, just trying to ensure that everyone starts to understand a little bit better about the plight of the tiger in the wild. Unfortunately, folks, the numbers are continuing to decline. We know that about 100 years ago, it's estimated there was around 100,000 tigers in the wild. Today, there's less than 4,000 remaining, and that's an optimistic estimate. Realistically, there's probably less than 3,000 tigers remaining, and unfortunately their body parts are still being used in traditional medicines. The habitat is still being destroyed. And recently our boss went for a trip over to Sumatra, to Kerinci Seblat National Park. He was actually went out on patrol with the group called Fauna and Flora International, a group that we've been funding for many years now. Now this group simply needs the funding to be able to continue what they do, which is protecting the habitat by stopping the illegal logging and stopping the building of illegal roads. But they also go out into areas such as this, they find illegal snares, they dismantle those snares, they gather intelligence so they can prosecute the poachers, the people doing the wrong thing. So guys, that's what we try and do here, is raise as much money and awareness as we possibly can for wild tiger conservation. Now if you guys would like to get involved, there's a very direct way you can. Just over in front of the Bengal shop, we do have a donation box, and every cent that goes in there goes to wild tiger conservation. No fees or charges deducted. As well as that, you can check dwf.com.au, that was up there just before, and that way you can get all sorts of information about how you can help other than spending a few coins in our donation box out there today. But as I said guys, if you can help us out today, we would really appreciate it. Now obviously that's a very serious side of what we're on about here at Tiger Islands. And folks, we're going to finish off with a couple of pretty cool behaviours, so hopefully you'll enjoy these ones. A couple of behaviours here. I mentioned earlier on that our two little orange tigers, Adira and Akasha, have a couple of behaviours that they particularly like the most. Adira over here, her favourite thing is to jump into the pool and dive down to the front for a piece of chicken. And hopefully you'll get a chance to see that a couple of times. Akasha over the back here, her favourite behaviour is to launch high into the air. We're still getting there. For a piece of chicken. So I think we might see Adira jumping in first, are we, Mel? Yep, so guys, keep your cameras focused on Adira. She may not actually dive into the pool the first time, but the reward will be there for her, and she will go as soon as she's ready. There we go, guys. Straight down to the bottom, grabs that piece of chicken. Excellent work. Come on, guys, let's give Adira a big round of applause. Now she'll go back over to there, over to Mel, and we might actually see her jumping into the pool for the next one. So folks, this time have your eyes and your cameras focused here on Akasha. Now you can see the first behaviour, probably one of the most difficult behaviours, is that sitting down and waiting patiently position that we ask of the cats. Naturally they get very focused on the reward, and so they too tend to want to get up very quickly rather than sit and wait for the behaviour. So we'll get, Keith will be ready as soon as he goes. You'll be able to see, guys. We're going to see, hopefully, a big jump into the air. Here we go. Nice and high. Oh, huge jump. Come on, guys. Big round of applause for Akasha. All right, guys. One last big jump into the pool from Adira over here. Here we go. Watch her go. Hey! Well folks, we hope you enjoyed what you've seen. We've got one last message for you up on the big screen.
Thank you for helping us save tigers.
Thanks again folks, enjoy the rest of your day. See you later. Bye. Feel free to come down to the front folks if you want to take some photos up a little bit closer. You're welcome to do that. Please don't step over the railing at the front though.